You're listening to Thursday Night AMP on the Angry Marks Podcast Network.
Welcome to the Thursday Night AngryMarks.com Pro Wrestling and Mixed Martial Arts Podcast. My name is Stevie J. Got two co-hosts on the line and a very special guest coming up in just a moment. So let me introduce everybody, starting out with Jason Harland, a.k.a. The Great Sudoku.
I have been introduced as the only participant in Block C of the 2016 G1 Climax.
Damn, that means you automatically get entered into the main event when it finally concludes.
Yes, I do. It'll be a triple threat.
All right. Well, then maybe we'll have to make it a fatal four-way with Block D being represented by the lovely and talented Abby.
Well, I'd kick everybody's ass. That just wouldn't be fair.
Well, it's kind of unfair tonight as it is because it's two redheads against two white guys. So y'all gonna kick our asses.
Well, you're the one that set
what.
this up. You set it up, knowing what would happen. So.
That I did. I take no blame but my own for that. It's my fault. But I'm looking forward to it so much. And if you haven't already figured it out from that introduction, without further ado, we're going to get our special guest on the line, the one and only Veda Scott.
Hello?
Hi, Veda.
Hi.
Hi, this is Stevie J from Thursday Night AMP on AngryMarks.com. How are you this evening?
I'm okay.
Glad to hear it. And I've got my co-host on the line as well. Jason Harland, say hello.
Fellow vegan, what is up?
Hi.
And, of course, from Top Rope Press and AngryMarks.com, among other places, Abby is also here.
Good evening, Miss Scott. How are you doing?
Hi. So it's Steve, Jason, and Abby?
That's correct.
Okay.
So we are already rolling since you've only got 30 minutes tonight, so we're just going to rapid fire the questions, if that's okay with you.
Okay. Sure.
Let's go ahead and go back to your earliest days breaking into professional wrestling. I know you were at the Ring of Honor dojo. Were you anywhere else before that, or was that your official start?
Nope, that's where I started.
All right. Who were your lead trainers? Was it Delirious at that time?
Delirious and Daisy Hayes.
All right. Well, what was that experience like breaking into the dojo, and what made you want to be a pro wrestler in the first place?
Oh, gosh, I feel like I answer this question all the time. Let me try to make it more interesting. So I've just been a professional wrestling fan my entire life, and it's been like the centerpiece of my life since always. So I don't remember not being a pro wrestling fan and not wanting to do this. So that's just a really short story of how I found myself there. And then it was just a matter of deciding to pursue this and finding a good school and finding a school that I wanted to invest in and I thought would invest in me. And I was also at the same time generally based out of the Philadelphia area too. So I looked at all my options and I ended up there.
That's awesome. Now, when you say wrestling has always been a part of your life, were there any particular wrestlers that you looked up to, men or women growing up, where you said, that's the kind of wrestler I want to be like?
Well, like I said, I've been a wrestling fan always. So just throughout my whole life, I've been watching as I got a little bit older and I had more access and more resources. I got into things outside of WWF and WCW. I was a huge WCW fan growing up too, so I had that influence. I started to look at a lot more international stuff, things here in the United States that you can only, you have to find on tape. And then eventually DVDs came along and that made it a lot easier. Then eventually the internet came along and that made it even easier to acquire footage to watch. So I tried to watch absolutely everything. I got really into Joshi fairly early on. and I still absolutely love that. So I don't know that I necessarily have, like, I can point to one person necessarily, because I wouldn't want to leave anyone out. But no, I just love pro wrestling.
All right. Well, Joshi and women's wrestling is one of the things that we love to focus on here on this website and on this show. And Jason, he is, I consider to be, the first person I know who really opened my eyes up to Stardom and some of those smaller promotions that don't necessarily get the love. But if it was still the tape trading days, we would be trading tapes of Stardom. So I imagine if you talk about Joshi, you're a big fan of groups like that.
Yeah, well, actually, Stardom's pretty huge right now. They're just doing some incredible things in terms of they have an online video on demand service right now, a streaming service, so you can access it pretty readily. So that's great because there's just so many talented people there right now. But like we said before, with the internet, a lot of places are releasing footage and releasing content to make it easier to see, no matter where you are, and you don't have to worry about like regions and things like that. Stardom also, I guess, they've done some shows over in Europe and sponsored in the United States, so they're getting pretty big. I think they're about 5 or 6 years old now, so they're a newer promotion. I forget what the actual question was. I just started talking about.
Oh no, I was just generally expressing the same thing you're expressing. Like, thank God the internet has made it easier to access stuff like Stardom and get to enjoy it. And I guess I would defer to Jason if he wants to make a specific question out of that.
I'm good with that. I'm more of the classics with like Megami Kudo and just old school Joshi stuff like that. But
and as we talk about the internet, please buy your wrestling content. Like it's like the thing about the internet too is like we talk about you can find anything online. Like everyone knows where to get it. Just please stop and just buy your wrestling content. Pay for it, please, because you're taking money away from the people that you're watching and are entertaining you, and theoretically you're trying to support.
You're preaching to the choir on that one, which is why I went out of my way to track you down and buy a Veda Scott t-shirt when I went to the Heart of Shimmer Championship. Besides the fact that I also felt bad that you lost in the opening round. Not that Heidi Lovelace isn't fantastic, but I was like, damn, I expected Veda Scott to make it all the way to the finals. I felt kind of gypped.
Well, then I got to do commentary for the rest of the show, so I was still present.
That you were. In fact, that's one of the things I loved when they had the Women of Honor Wednesday match with the triple threat, you and Mandy Leon and Jenny Rose, who you've got something very personal going on with. We're going to talk about that. But the fact that in the middle of that match, you stopped and did commentary, I was just blown away by how cool that was.
Yeah, well, I started in Ring of Honor as a broadcaster. We didn't have women's wrestling at the time, and I wasn't really doing a whole lot of wrestling at the time. So it's something that I've kind of retained. Started to do commentary for them. I do commentary for Shimmer and lots of other places. So if I have the opportunity to call my own match, I'm going to, of course.
and you've also been a mouthpiece for a lot of other people as well. Musa Ojinaka and Cedric Alexander, just to name a couple.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's something else I've branched out to do in Ring of Honor.
Mm-hmm. Now, what did you think of the fact that Cedric is moving on to the Cruiserweight Classic as somebody that's worked with him so closely?
Well, I think I just attempted to fire him on a recent episode of Ring of Honor TV. He quit instead. Didn't see that coming. But he is just one of the most boring that little disagreement we had at the end there. He is one of the most phenomenally talented athletes I've ever seen in a wrestling ring right in front of my face, and it was a pleasure to be so close to his wrestling and be able to watch him do what he does. And just to learn from him, to learn from how he's able to like some of the stuff that he pulls off is just incredible. So that was just a clinic in professional wrestling, and it was an incredible experience for me, and I was very lucky to have it. And now he's going to succeed wherever he is. He will be very missed in Ring of Honor, but he will be successful no matter where he is. He's just that good.
Absolutely. In fact, one of the things I thought was amazing was just hearing that he made the 205-pound limit, because this is not a small guy.
Well, no, but if you have a goal, you can work really hard for it, and he was in the gym for hours and hours a day.
That's true. Now, speaking of goals, we've got a big Women of Honor show coming up, and it's paired together with a big Ring of Honor show, and the cost of a ticket for one gets you into both. But before I even get into the whole entirety of that card coming up, I want to talk about why you're facing Jenny Rose on this card and what's been going on between the two of you and why it's so personal.
Well, we, as you mentioned before, we had a triple threat match, and I won that match, by pinning Jenny Rose. So there's some hostility there. We faced off, in, tag team matches before as well, in Women of Honor and also in a Future of Honor tag team match before, which was an offshoot of Ring of Honor. But we've never wrestled each other one-on-one in Ring of Honor or under Women of Honor, so that is finally happening now.
Well, tell us what you think of her as a wrestler, aside from the fact that you personally enjoy beating her. Do you think she's a good wrestler, a bad wrestler? What's your opinion of her?
Well, of course I think she's a good wrestler, or else she wouldn't be in Ring of Honor, and she wouldn't be in Women of Honor. The thing about Jenny Rose is she was trained at the Ring of Honor dojo as well. She started before I did, so she came up before I did. But what she did with her career, which is a little bit unique, particularly at that time, is that although she competed in the United States for, I want to say about a year and a half, she then took an opportunity to go to Japan with Pro Wrestling Diana, which is a promotion over there, and she essentially moved to Japan. Not just to go and do a couple shows, not just, to make a few appearances and do some tours. She relocated to Japan, not just to wrestle there full time, but also to live in their dojo, to train full time in their style, which is incredibly demanding and incredibly intense. And she just did it, knowing that what she wanted to do was focus on wrestling. She wanted to try something new and she wanted to challenge herself. And the fact that she's from Philadelphia, grew up in Philadelphia, lived in Philadelphia, left essentially everything behind for professional wrestling, I think is just incredible. So, regardless of any personal issues stemming from this upcoming match, she's someone who has completely dedicated her entire life to wrestling. She's done, I wish I had a number on it. I'm not sure how many times she's gone to Japan, but it's been a substantial amount of time there. She'll come back to the States. She'll wrestle here for a while. She'll go back. She's actually going back to Japan again for an extended period of time, at the end of the summer. So this is, probably one of the last opportunities I'll have to face her in the near future, unless I'm there myself. But yeah, no, she's someone who decided not just to go and wrestle in Japan, but to completely just live the lifestyle, live in the dojo, train in the dojo, and it's something you don't see a whole lot of.
That's one thing that I actually appreciate about women's wrestling in general, and specifically something you just said is that, a lot of times when men talk about their opponents or talk about the skills of their opponents, they actually say, well, they're good, but they're not good compared to me. Whereas it seems like in women's wrestling, there's more focus on building each other up as opposed to tearing each other down.
Well, I mean, for Jenny Rose to compete at a particular level like she does, particularly in Japan, I mean, she has to be pretty good.
Of course, but it's just a refreshing change of pace for me as a wrestling fan, which is one of the reasons I strongly encourage people to support women's wrestling. And one of the ways you can do that is going to this show on July 8th at the William J. Myers Pavilion in Baltimore, because not only will you get to see Veda Scott and Jenny Rose, you'll get to see matches like Kelly Klein and Candice LeRae, Hanaya the Huntress versus Mandy Leone, Taylor Hendricks versus Crazy Mary Dobson. In fact, a lot of familiar names from the Heart of Shimmer tournament are on this card.
Mm-hmm. And most of them, with I want to say one exception, have been seen in Women of Honor, or sorry, two exceptions have been seen in Women of Honor before. We have Kennedy Brink, who's making her debut for Women of Honor, in a 6-woman tag team match that, you didn't mention, but is also happening. Big 6-woman tag. And then, of course, Candice LeRae is also making her Ring of Honor and Women of Honor debut. So those are just two things I'm really looking forward to seeing as well.
That's fantastic. Now, Abby, I want you to get in on the conversation. I know I said it was going to be redheads versus the world tonight, so I think that's your cue to jump in.
Where do you want to see Women of Honor go? I mean, I know Ring of Honor up until recently really hasn't had much women's action, and Women of Honor has kind of jumped out in the forefront now. Would you like to see it more incorporated into the main programming that the shows have, or would you like it to be something that continues to be its own thing going forward?
I think it's great that we're working on establishing our own brand identity. I think that's great. I think just to show that there's an environment where women's wrestling is supported. But of course, in terms of exposure, we would love to be on television. Right now, our matches, for the most part, other than a television special that just aired and is currently airing right now on ROH TV, have been YouTube exclusive matches. And there's pluses and minuses to that. It's a long-term plan to have us more on television, pay-per-view, that sort of thing. But the big plus I see with the YouTube matches is that there's just so much exposure and easy exposure. Anyone can watch that on their phone, on their computer. It's completely free. And that's phenomenal. Women that are in these Women of Honor matches are having their work viewed by more people than they've ever had in their careers before. No matter where they wrestle. So that's phenomenal. Obviously, as you said, like we just want the wrestling to get better and better and the entire project to grow. So if that means time on regular Ring of Honor television shows, great. If it's decided that this functions better as sort of a standalone brand but has the support of Ring of Honor behind it, that's great too.
And are y'all planning on touring, or are y'all just planning on, touring as a brand of your own as you grow?
We do tour right now. On the majority of Ring of Honor shows you see right now, there'll be at least one, sometimes more, Women of Honor feature matches on there. A couple of us are also are regularly featured in Ring of Honor in other roles. So we're on tour right now. This show that we're doing on July 8th is a standalone feature for us that's then followed by a Ring of Honor show. So it's more matches, more Women of Honor matches than you would normally see on any given event day. But right now, for the most part, if you go to a Ring of Honor show, you're going to see a Women of Honor feature match.
That's great. I think the more young women and girls who really love this business and don't really have any, exposure to it outside of the big companies like WWE, I think it's great that they, have access to it at shows like Ring of Honor that really focus more on the wrestling and less on the sports entertainment aspect of things.
Well, I am going to jump in right there. I think, though, that in general, women's wrestling, no matter where it is, whether it's in front of 12 people or in front of thousands and thousands of people, right now is just so populated by motivated female athletes and who all believe the same thing. No matter where you are, no matter where you're appearing, there's just such a love and respect for wrestling and for athleticism right now. We've never had that before. There's always been, phenomenal athletes in every aspect of the sport, but never in these numbers, never this much. It just everywhere, internationally, here in the States. It's never been like this before. It's incredible.
Oh, definitely now. The only time you can go back and look and really see something that's equivalent to what it is now is back in the golden age of women's wrestling. Back through the late 70s, 80s, and 90s, we didn't have this, and it's great that the women are getting the exposure they're getting now.
Mm-hmm.
Stevie, I'm going to hand it back to you now.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure if you had another question there or not. So, actually, I want to tag in Jason because I know he'd like to trade some vegan recipes with Veda.
Indeed, yeah. You are vegan?
I am, yes. I have been vegetarian since forever, and then I go back and forth on the veganism. There's some times where I'm a little bit more of a lax vegan, but the vegetarian thing, I can't imagine ever changing.
Yeah, I've been vegan. I just had 3 years come up on the 14th, and I've been vegetarian for a year before that. Is it hard when you're on the road finding things to eat? I know in my personal life, and I'm, not traveling, I'm not on the road, I'm not a wrestler, but, for me, I'm finding as a vegan, I take a lot of my own food with me. It must be really difficult for you when you're on the road trying to get something to eat.
Yeah, it's just a matter of prep, and you see a lot of that, though, with athletes in general, no matter what their diets are. So I think it's probably easier for a traveling athlete than it might be for someone else, because just in general, there's a culture of, everyone has a cooler, that kind of thing.
Bring your own food, and you can always hop into a grocery store and get something as opposed to going someplace for fast food. That's one of the things I love when people say, dude, what do you get when you go to McDonald's if you're vegan? And it's like, I don't go to McDonald's.
Right.
It's just like, I don't do that. But is there any particular food that you really love? Any kind of vegan specialty that you like to make or eat?
Well, I keep a pretty regimented diet most of the time, so I kind of eat the same thing every day, all the time. But I'm still a very soy-based person. I have not moved away from soy the way a lot of people have, so I do a lot of tofu, a lot of tempeh. I'm actually just had some tempeh right now. Big on tempeh, big on tofu. Very, very simple. I like to stick as close to whole foods as possible. I do a lot of beans, a lot of lentils. Big fan of wheat gluten. I make my own seitan every week. Like I said, I try to stick as close to whole food sources as possible.
Sounds like a lot of my diet. I haven't moved away from soy either. I don't know if I could ever give up tofu. It's just wonderful. Yeah, I do a lot of lentils, a lot of Indian curries. I love spicy food. And yeah, it's basically the whole foods, the whole grains. I stay away from sugar, but I also stay away from things like high fructose corn syrup, things like that. But yeah, like an Indian lentil curry, I like to make dal. That's one of my favorite things to make. And then I make a vegan pizza with vegan cheese. That's just amazing. Are there any other wrestlers you've met that are vegetarian? I heard a beep too.
Okay, that's fine.
Are there any other wrestlers that you travel with that are vegetarian or vegan?
Yeah, let me think. Well, probably the most prevalent is the Cherry Bomb. She is very, very adamant about being a meat-free athlete. She trains really hard, works out really hard, and she does it all as a vegan. But there's more than that. I believe Lufisto actually just went vegan, which is just a really neat thing. You see it here and there, lots of vegetarians, not as many vegans, I would say, but lots of vegetarians. It's not, as common as cranking open like a pouch of tuna and some hard-boiled eggs, in the professional wrestling world, but it's definitely there.
That's awesome. Dropping names like Cherry Bomb and Lufisto, two friends of one of my favorite podcasts of all time that's no longer around, the O Show, which was just one of my absolute favorites, and it was always fun to hear them on those two shows.
To me, the first two wrestlers I remember really hearing that they were vegetarian and then hearing them promote it themselves were Austin Aries and Bryan Danielson. And I always thought the amazing things those guys can do and not eat meat, it proves anybody can do it too.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a matter of planning. I mean, for the most part, you'll find that someone who's vegan or vegetarian and an athlete generally sticks to a pretty clean diet anyway, and it's just a matter of preparation and planning. And for the most part, I mean, it's harder, I'm sure, if it's new for you, but a lot of us have been just doing this for so long that it's just what it is. Like, it wouldn't occur to me to like have a piece of chicken or something like that. That doesn't cross my mind. That's not something I process in my brain.
Now, since you're a cat lover, I do wonder what your views are then on cats having a meat-based diet, because they can't really do very well on a vegetable diet. I've seen people try, and it's not good for cats.
Well, no, but they're carnivores, so they're supposed to eat meat. Like, in terms of evolutionary processes, they're supposed to. So that's kind of different. I mean, human beings don't need animal products to survive, but cats do. So Teddy, my cat, does eat a carnivorous diet.
Your cat's name is Teddy?
Yes, my cat's name is Teddy.
The irony there, that is awesome.
Yeah, but I mean, I always think of the classic joke. I don't know if you watch Futurama or not, but there's the part where they're discussing whether people should eat meat or not, and then Fry says, well, lions eat meat. And then he goes, no, they don't. We taught a lion to eat tofu. And then you see this like sickly looking lion that looks like it wants to die.
Yeah, I haven't attempted to. Well, Ted sometimes will like pull broccoli and things out of my food, but no, he's on a relatively meat-based diet.
That's good. That's like you said, cats are carnivores, so that's what they need to thrive. But speaking of to thrive, eat to thrive, Jason, didn't you create a recipe in honor of Veda before the show tonight?
I sure did. I do a cooking blog at veggiebending.wordpress.com. It's kind of a vegan cooking blog meets Avatar: The Last Airbender. And what I made for dinner tonight was some chopped up tofu into like bricks and marinated, and I called them Veda burgers.
Oh, I don't think I've ever had a sandwich or whatever that. Did it become a sandwich, or is it just a burger implied sandwich? But I did it.
Yeah, it's like I'm trying to watch my weight, so I did it without bread. But yeah, it's tofu that I marinated in soy sauce, liquid smoke, a little bit of cooking wine, some water, some seasoned salt, and some nutritional yeast, and then fried.
I don't think I've ever had a sandwich or otherwise named after me.
Well, there you go. There's a first.
We're breaking new ground right here on the Angry Marks podcast. I love it. But Veda, I know your Twitter handle, it's Veda time, references a very classic line. Big Van Vader has been much in the news of late for his thoughts on a match between Will Ospreay and Ricochet. So I wondered, do you have any thoughts on that match yourself?
I thought it was phenomenal. It's was one of the most astounding things I've ever seen happen in a wrestling ring. I don't know how you could watch that and not think that it was just phenomenal.
So did you take offense then to Vader's comments where he said it was just a bunch of flips and BS?
I mean, I guess that's his opinion. I don't really know, like, I never really get the motivation of, I guess I do get the motivation of making a comment like that because it does bring attention on you. And if you're someone who is in need of attention, I guess, maybe. But it's just expressing an opinion. Obviously the athletes who were competing in that match are very confident in their skills and very confident in what they're doing. And the criticism of, someone online is certainly not going to change that. They're doing very well at it and very successfully.
That's very true. And it almost seems like he worked himself into his shoot because he wanted to get a match with Will Ospreay himself, which he's now getting over in the United Kingdom. So it kind of feels like even if he was legitimately upset at the style of the match to begin with, now he gets to wrestle Will Ospreay himself. So it's hard to tell where it stopped being him just trying to get attention or him actually trying to get booked.
Yeah, I don't really pay attention to that sort of thing. It doesn't have a lot to do with me at all.
Yeah, no, that's understandable, but I couldn't resist asking because of the Twitter handle, and it's just fun to say it's Veda time anyway.
I think I may have had my Twitter before Vader did. Otherwise, I probably would have changed it. But yeah, it's memorable. It's easy for people to remember what my Twitter is. Mm-hmm. Occasionally, I get tagged instead of Vader in things.
Jason, I want to go back to you and see if you have any additional questions because I know we've only got a limited amount of time with Veda, so everybody gets one more shot before we wrap it up.
Yeah, the resemblance there just, not striking at all between you and Vader. But, if you had the chance to wrestle a match against Will Ospreay, is that something you'd like to do?
No. There's absolutely, I couldn't keep up with that. No. No.
Although that does raise a good question in general. What do you think of the current trend with Lucha Underground and Beyond Wrestling and some of the other promotions out there right now doing intergender matches? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, obviously I'm very pro that because I do a lot of intergender wrestling, like a lot of intergender wrestling. I am totally in favor of it. I think that it's something that, especially in 2016, is necessary as men and women are just phenomenally talented athletes. There's no reason that they shouldn't be wrestling each other. The division by gender is overall just, as a strict and straight line, is overall silly. Now, when we feature women's wrestling, is that a positive? Yes, of course. Something like Women of Honor, something like Shimmer is phenomenal. But to be against intergender wrestling in this day and age, it just doesn't make any sense. Then you're watching the wrong matches, is what I have to say about that. Because if you watch an intergender match, that the idea that, like, if all you're focusing on is man versus woman, then you're depriving yourself of a phenomenal match. Some of them are just so good, and it doesn't matter who's involved in it. It just matters that they're great athletes. So again, to be some anti-intergender at this point, it doesn't make any sense to me. And I say that as someone who enjoys intergender wrestling, both watching it and doing it myself. If not for intergender wrestling, I probably wouldn't have the career that I have today.
Okay, I don't disagree with anything that you just said. The only thing that ever causes me concern when I watch an intergender match is when there's a horrible size disparity, like a 300-pound man against a 130-pound woman, and then I start to feel a little bad watching it. Like, this seems like...
Do you feel that way when you watch two men with a major size disparity or two women with a major size disparity? When you start to bring in the whole idea... I don't mean to interrupt you, but I kind of do, because with mixed martial arts, which is something I'm big into, they match guys up by weight class. So when I see a guy that's 2 weight classes bigger than his opponent, I do get a little worried about it. But go ahead. But this isn't mixed martial arts, it's professional wrestling. So I think we kind of all know what the deal is in general there. The thing that I find that doesn't necessarily make sense to me sometimes with the intergender debate, and I don't want to get too far into it, is again like saying that I'm uncomfortable seeing this. But at the same time, we're glorifying violence in general just by being professional wrestling fans. So I don't know. To me, it's not like this is something that these women are getting into because they're being like coerced or anything like that. Intergender wrestling has opened up the door for so many of us to have so many other matches, to wrestle so many different places, have so many different opportunities. Sometimes, you'll, on a show, a women's match is like a special attraction, and it should never be like that. It's just a wrestling match. And I think intergender wrestling has helped bridge the gap with that. And then as women's wrestling has become more and more and more respected, it's just another option.
I agree.
And again, I'm very small. I know that. And a lot of other intergender wrestlers, I guess you would say, are also very small. So we do look at the size difference, but we approach it the same way we approach a size difference with any opponent.
That's fair. You know what? I think you're changing some of my opinions about intergender as we do this. So I have to look at it in a different light now. But before I get out of time here and we have to let you go, I think Abby gets the last question.
Since we're talking intergender, who is the one guy you would love to get in the ring with and just beat from pillar to post?
It just happened. Cedric Alexander. He was an opponent that I really wanted the opportunity to wrestle, and it just happened. And I'm very happy that it did. Like I said, he's a phenomenal talent, and I was glad to learn from him. So that was it. Now I have to come up with a new one. I guess I have to come up with a new answer. But that was it. It was Cedric.
Well, if we're going to fantasy book an intergender match, can I just say Veda Scott versus Jay Lethal? Let's do that.
He's the current world champion, so that's probably unlikely to happen. I think I'd have to work my way into contention, but maybe. I need a few more Women of Honor wins before that, I think.
All right, well, yeah, let's do it like a ranking system then. You just work your way up through Women of Honor, beat everybody, and you can be the top contender to face him.
Yeah, wins and losses do still matter in Ring of Honor, very much.
That's what I love about Ring of Honor, and that's why Women of Honor is fun to watch too, because nobody treats it like it doesn't matter. I love it when every result counts. And on that note, let's get one last plug for the William J. Myers Pavilion on July 8th. And Veda, anything else you want to plug before we let you go?
No, just like you said, that it's a Women of Honor show. 5 huge Women of Honor matches. It's all happening before the Ring of Honor Aftershock event, and your admission to Women of Honor is free with a ticket to the Aftershock event. So really, there's no reason not to be there.
Absolutely. You don't want to miss it. Go to ROHWrestling.com for more info on how to get tickets before they sell out. You're going to want to get them as soon as you can, because everybody's going to be coming to that packed doubleheader show. And follow Veda on Twitter at It's Veda Time. If there's anything else I forgot, please mention it right now.
No, I mean, Twitter is pretty much the launching pad for everything that I do. And you can find my Instagram and everything on there. But I post everything to Twitter first. That's my primary social media.
That's fantastic. Well, Veda, it was a pleasure to meet you in Dallas at the Heart of Shimmer tournament. It's a pleasure to talk to you tonight. Thank you so much for carving out some time for us. And we look forward to seeing your Women of Honor matches in the future.
Thank you.
All right. Veda Scott right here on Thursday Night AMP. Fabulous guest and a fabulous interview. We're so glad to have her on the show. And Jason, how thrilled are you that you got to talk to a fellow vegan tonight?
That was a fun one. Yeah, I like that.
Eat more chicken.
I've been looking forward to talking to.
What's that, Abby?
I said eat more chicken.
You can only get away with saying that now that she's gone, can't you?
I wasn't going to say it when she was on.
Pick her spots, yeah.
Oh, well,
I've seen her kick ass. I ain't going to. She's a meaner redhead than me.
Yeah. And you know what? Teddy can eat all the chicken he wants. If she's not eating it, he will.
No, I just saw a Chick-fil-A commercial. It popped up and said, eat more chicken, so.
Naming a cat Teddy, that's just awesome. There's just something very cosmic about that.
Well, you know what? I didn't get a chance to say this on the air while she was on. Not that I was trying to be a mark while she was on the show anyway, but I think my favorite wrestling shirt right now, other than my Balor Club shirt, is the one with her that says 4 eyes, 9 lives.
The with the cat claws making the tally.
Exactly. And that's how I met her, was because she was selling those shirts at the Heart of Shimmer Championship, and she said it's $20 for a regular and $25 for the extra large. I'm like, you know what? I'll pay the extra $5 if I can get a picture with you. So that's how that happened. That's how I met Veda Scott.
Nice.
Oh, yeah, fun times. But I was still bummed, even now, a couple of months later, that she went out in the very first round of the tournament, because I was a Veda Scott fan before the tournament even started. And yes, it's great that she got to do commentary the whole time, but damn, I wanted to see her go past the first round. And I got burned on that a lot. Most of the people I wanted to last in the tournament went out in the opening round.
Yeah, of course I have to pull for my fellow vegans, too.
Indeed. So, speaking of people to pull for, we got some fabulous announcements this week for the New Japan G1 Climax 2016. Block A and Block B have been filled out, and they've already announced all the major matches on all the upcoming G1 Climax cards. So, let's get right into it, Jason.
Okay, so let's run down the blocks first. We'll start alphabetically with Block A. We have Bad Luck Fale, Hirooki Goto. Abby's gonna again, but it'll get better because next is Tomohiro Ishii.
Yay!
You like Satoshi Kojima, Togi Makabe, the big surprise Naomichi Marufuji, Kazuchika Okada, Sonata, John Cena Hashi coming back from injury, and
Maybe,
Tama
hopefully.
Tonga. Rounding out Block A is Tama Tonga, but not his brother, thankfully.
And if Folly doesn't bring back the tiny little G1 hat this year, I'm going to be very, very disappointed.
I'll have to mention it to him. But yeah, I mean, it brings up some interesting matches when you get Bad Luck Fale going up against Tama Tonga. It's Bullet Club versus Bullet Club is always interesting, although I think, more interesting in this, you got matches with Okada taking on Marufuji, you got matches with Okada taking on Sonata.
And you've got some interesting first-time matches, which I've got a list of those somewhere.
All right, well, you can find those while Jason runs down
I will
the
find
block.
those while Jason runs down B Block.
Sure, and yeah, it's one of the things that I wanted to mention too. While Satoshi Kojima is in Block A, conspicuous by his absence is his longtime tag team partner Hiroshi Tenzan, who seems to only put on good shows at the G1, yet he is not going to be in the G1 this year.
And he was not happy about that either.
No, I mean, yeah, he's kind of Mr. G1, but
On the Kazuna Road show, what was it, Monday morning? Yeah, he didn't seem really happy that he was left out of G1.
Yeah, I'd be mad too, because that's kind of his time to shine, and yeah, they left him out there. Yeah, Block B is kind of more interesting. It's kind of like there's a guy on top that you can kind of see winning it, but other than that, it's kind of wide open. For that, we have Block B consisting of Michael Elgin, King of Dancing, as Stevie likes to say, or King of Darkness, Evil.
I'm sorry, I swear that Japanese announcer said King of Dance.
King of Dance.
They have trouble with R's. They don't do well with R's.
I still
Valletta.
picture Evil coming down with the laser fingers and the crushed velvet doing a moonwalk to the ring.
Loki Romero. Okay, so we've got Michael Elgin, we've got Evil, we've got Han Mania running wild with Tomoaki Hanma. It's going to be interesting. I'll get to some more of that later. Tetsuya Naito, Katsuhika Nakajima, Yuji Nagata, Blue Justice, Kenny Omega, Katsuyori Shibata, Toru Yano, and Yoshihashi.
I'm so glad Taco's got in.
So am I, and I'm glad that he is in Hanma's block, because eventually they're going to have to face each other, and one of them is going to have to win that match.
Right. Nobody's
Watch that
finish.
be the one match Hanma wins this year.
Watch that be the one double DQ or count out or something.
I was about to say there's no way that nobody finishes Block B with 0 points this year, but they might try to find a way and have a double DQ or something.
Yeah, man, that's one that I'm interested to see, because that's kind of like two feel-good stories going against each other. You've got, kind of the underdog fan favorite in Hanma perennially versus the underdog fan favorite in Yoshihashi, and it will be interesting to see who the crowd gets behind and how that match goes. It's not one you would look for overtly, but this is one that I'm really looking forward to.
Well, you'll get your wish on July 24th, because that's when Hanma and Yoshihashi is scheduled to take place.
On the 24th, yes, indeed.
Yoshihashi better kill him. Ever since all that shit came out about Hanma, I used to root for him because he was such an underdog, but now I don't like him. I don't want to have,
I understand your objections, but
I'm disinterested in his matches, and I just don't care anymore.
I'm disinterested in him, but I'm also disinterested in his partner Makabe too. It has nothing really to do with what Hanma does outside of the ring. It's just kind of, same old shit.
I guess I'm still ambivalent because of the whole he said, she said nature of the whole thing. None of the allegations were ever proven, but I still have concerns just over the fact the allegations were even raised.
Yeah, and it's not like they were disproven. It was just like basically it doesn't matter because she's a woman that said it.
Yeah,
That's what it all boiled down to.
That's why it still bothers me somewhat. But
Yeah.
I've tried to put it out of my mind when watching him wrestle.
I can't.
Hanma's just so much of a one-trick pony. He's got the Kokeshi headbutt, and what other moves does he have?
Yeah. Well, that's sort of the fun of watching it, is watching him fail when he tries to go for it. It doesn't always work for him.
Hitting that over-under on missed headbutts before the first one connects.
It's always he misses the first two and hits the third. 98.3% of the time.
That's not even you making up that number. That's probably statistically...
That's probably like right within the margin of error.
I bet it is. Closer so than the margin of errors on Trump versus Clinton right now.
Also in the B block, one thing I'm really looking forward to...
I should bring up politics? I heard you sigh when I said that.
No, please don't.
Things will get ugly fast.
I just did it just anyway. I wasn't really trying to delve into politics. Go on, Jason.
August 7th, we get the matchup of Tetsuya Naito versus Evil. And this is going to be the first time we have two members of Los Ingobernables de Japón going against each other, and it's something that I'm very interested to see.
Laser pointer finger poke of doom.
Naito's just going to lay down for him?
I don't know. Could be the other way around. Who the hell knows?
Naito with the finger poke of doom?
Probably.
I'm just going to say this in general and not specifically relating to this match. I want Naito to do really damn well in his block. I want him to almost run the table.
Yeah, I think the
G1
favorites coming out of it would be Naito in Block B and Okada in Block A. Go ahead, Abby.
I think this whole thing is going to be built around four guys. Tana, Okada in Block A, and Naito and Omega in Block B.
That would be
everyone.
way more than fine with me. I would be over the moon happy if that was what happened.
Indiana.
I think that's really the four that it's going to be built around.
And with talking about the finger poke of doom, didn't the Bullet Club tease that last year at the G1 when they had to go against each other? I think it was Fale was
lawsuit.
Went and laid down, but then kicked out
with AJ.
Yeah,
I think so.
Yeah, I'm remembering this finger poke angle from a G1 show last year. And it was Bullet Club, and it didn't quite go over, but we'll see how Los Ingobernables do. But I'm interested to see, in Block A, the Sonata versus Okada matchup, too, a singles match there.
Yes. That should be a tremendous match.
It's I don't think Sonata's going to win the Block A. I do think that if he has a strong showing, it will do a lot for how he's seen and how he's pushed.
Right, and even if Okada is going all the way in that block, you could still give Sonata the win over Okada and let everything else go against him, but just give us that moment to say, this is a star on the rise, look who he beat.
Yeah, or
that would
give
be
him
nice.
Give him a win over Tanahashi.
Give everybody a win over Tanahashi.
Yeah, pretty much. Give Tama Tonga a win over Tanahashi.
Well, let's just hope Tanahashi's physical health holds up and he doesn't bow out of the tournament halfway through.
Yeah,
I need somebody to make fun of.
Ruling. I mean, last year Nakamura pulled out for one match because I think it was a shoulder injury that he had. So
no, he pulled out of about 4 matches because he had staph infection in his elbow.
Is that what it was?
Yep.
4. He forfeited 4 matches.
It was about that.
Not the G1 matches, but he was out for. I think it was one singles match. He was out for 3 shows. So it might have been 2 of the tag matches and 1 of the tournament matches.
Yeah, I know he had to forfeit 1 tournament match because of the injury, but then he came back and it was kind of up in the air at the time of would he be out of the tournament or would he be coming back?
Well, he made it all the way to the finals, so.
He sure did.
I don't know. I'm kind of disappointed with the Noah guys in it. I mean, I like Marufuji, but I would have much preferred, Suzuki be in it.
Or Shelton Benjamin, somebody like that.
Yeah. Nakajima I'm okay with.
I heard people wanting Roderick Strong to be in and kind of groaning and moaning that he didn't make it.
I'm glad that there are as few gaijin in this as there are.
I guess I'm okay if Noah guys, were going to be in it. Marufuji would be one of my top picks because even before you guys got me as heavily invested in New Japan as I am now, I became a fan of his just watching his work in Ring of Honor. So to me, he's one of those guys that the more he's featured, the happier I am.
Yeah, but he's real inconsistent in matches. He's got good days and bad days and phoning them in days.
Well, that's probably true of everybody. I mean, His talent level to me is a notch above most others.
Yeah, and hopefully he'll show that during the tournament, and it won't be, the stuff he kind of does in Noah a lot these days, which is kind of what everybody does, is kind of just phone it in.
Yeah, well, that's because Noah is the B show, and it gets the B show attendance and gets the B show effort.
But I finally found my list of first-time matches for this year.
All right, let's hear them.
In the A block, the first-time matches will be Marufuji versus Makabe, versus Sonata versus Okada, versus Tama Tonga versus Goto, versus Fale versus Ishii. Basically, he hadn't faced anybody but Tana.
All right, so lots of Marufuji to look forward to. Lots of first-time everything.
I will also have Sonata with first-time matches against Makabe, Tanahashi, Tonga, Fale, and Ishii. So he hadn't faced a lot of people either.
Well, Sonata's got to pick up at least one win then, like you said, either over Tanahashi or Okada. He needs one signature win.
Yeah. And then Tana and Tama Tonga will face off, which will be a first-time singles match.
I know you're not excited about that.
Well, I kind of wanted Yano and Tonga to be in the same block so that I could see them, see Yano get chased around.
Magic together in the ring, yeah.
I know, that chemistry is just great. And Block B is kind of like with Block A with Marufuji. You have Nakajima with Elgin, Nagata, Naito, Evil, Yano, and Yoshihashi. So basically everybody.
Except Omega.
Except Shibata and Omega. So you hadn't faced anybody else but those two. Elgin will be facing off for the first time against Shibata, which should be great.
That'll be a fun one.
Evil, which has the potential to be good. And Yano, which, oh God, I'm going to cry because Yano's going to die.
Please don't kill Yano.
I'm going to be saying that a lot. Shibata will face off for the first time against Evil and Kenny Omega. Him and Omega should be good. Naito will face off for the first time against Evil and Kenny Omega. And Naito and Omega is something I'm looking forward to.
Oh, hell yeah.
Evil, for the first time, will face off against Naito, Yano, and Omega. And Yano and Omega will face off for the first time against each other. So we're getting a lot of new stuff in this that we haven't seen before, which for me, I like, because last year we saw a lot of repetitive stuff. I mean, as far as guys who have faced each other before. And this year we're getting a lot of stuff we've never seen, at least with singles matches.
So,
and I like the idea of Bullet Club with Kenny Omega taking on, Naito and Evil of Los Ingobernables, kind of maybe start a war of factions there. But another thing with Kenny Omega taking on, Shibata, it's one of those things where I almost wish they would have, instead of giving Kenny Omega, when he became a heavyweight, the Intercontinental title, you give Kenny Omega the Never Openweight title and have him play it up and saying, this is a better title than, IWGP anyway. We're Bullet Club. We don't need that. We have the Never title. And it would just seem to fit his character a lot better than having the IC title.
Well, maybe he'll lose it between now and then. Who knows?
All right, I want to pose the question, since we've already talked about who the favorites are in Block A and Block B, who are the most unfavored? Who do we think has the best chance of getting 0 points or almost no points?
Hanma.
Let's see, in Block B, I'm going to go with Hanma and Yoshihashi. In Block A, I'm going with Tama Tonga and
Fale?
Fale or Makabe. I'm trying to decide who I want to be number 2. I think Fale can do really well. I think I might pick Tama Tonga and Makabe to get the least points in Block A.
Yeah, I like those picks.
We know Yano will do well. He always does well. He just doesn't win.
And those turnbuckle pads don't stand a chance.
I wonder if that's ever going to become a thing where Yano just totally flips his shit about always being middle of the pack and never winning at all, and just totally goes nuts and says he won't get in it again unless he can win it all.
I doubt it very seriously.
It'd be a hell of an angle, though, if they pushed it that way. Like, Yano's going on a mission this time. He doesn't care. He's not going to do it unless he can win it. That'd be great.
Kind of have him in Yoshihashi's role next year or something.
What I'm really interested to see is when Jay White comes back from his excursion, seeing him in the G1 Climax.
That would be nice.
You would almost have to give him a run after that. You couldn't send him away for a year and then have him come back and lose every match.
Yeah, he's not David Finlay. Poor David.
Poor David. You've got me trained to say that now. I've been saying it at the same time you were.
I know, he's got to win a match sometime.
Well, put him in there with Captain fucking New Japan then.
Hell, they'd probably have Captain beat him too.
Oh,
Ooh.
God, no. No, they couldn't do that. They wouldn't do that.
At least not on the network. It happens at house shows, from what Kev has told us. But yeah, on New Japan World, it's very, very rare to see Captain New Japan pick up a win.
He never needs. Put him in there with Yoshitatsu. Have him beat Yoshitatsu.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind that either. Yoshitatsu is useless too. The whole Bullet Club Hunter faction sucks.
I like the T-shirt, though.
You like the strangest things.
I know. I like our sleeves. What can I say? I'm a man of acquired taste.
Lord have mercy.
Yeah, speaking of Sleaze, he's another one that did not make the tournament.
Yay!
Yujiro Takahashi is not in there.
Sad. I'm bummed.
But of course, no R sleeves means no Mao.
Well, he hasn't bringing Mao to the ring with him anyway.
Yeah, he's left his girls behind. I don't know. Maybe he's changing his ways, or maybe they ran out of penicillin. I don't know.
Maybe somebody introduced him to Dalton Castle.
It isn't easy being sleazy.
He's just ugh.
Maybe he'll be coming out with boys next.
Oh no, I don't think he'll. No.
Abby, do you know who Jontron is?
Am I supposed to?
No,
YouTube,
not really.
The YouTube celebrity Jontron?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, because the disgust noise that Abby makes when we discuss our sleeves is like Jontron going, ugh.
Ugh.
Because, I mean, he makes me feel the need to just saying his name makes me feel the need to bathe in Clorox. He is that slimy and smarmy and ugh.
Yujiro Takahashi.
Your reaction to him is basically the same reaction I see a lot of people have to Joey Ryan. And I love Joey Ryan, but a lot of people get that when he's on.
Yeah, but he's a funny kind of sleazy.
Oh, I've always thought so. Dating back to the very first time I ever saw him, probably even before Wrestling Society X. I don't know how many years ago it's been, but he's always been kind of that funny, sleazy type of who wants a mustache ride wrestler. He's been that since the beginning.
You know, and Takahashi is just sleazy. You know, he's that guy you expect to find at a strip club at 3 a.m. You know, just that kind of yucky, nasty, stuck to the plastic vinyl seat in a strip club sleazy. You know, just...
Yeah, I think I get the picture here. We don't need to get more elaborate than that.
It's just, ugh.
Were there any more glaring omissions of people that were left off of the A block or B block?
Other than Tenzon, no, not really. Not that I can think of.
Yeah, I mean, what's his name?
I think a lot of people expected Adam Cole to be in it, simply because of the Bullet Club deal, but...
What about Hangman Page? Would it have been too soon for him?
Yeah.
Yes.
It'd been way too soon. He doesn't need to be anywhere near New Japan anyway. I mean, not that he's bad. No, I mean, not that he's bad. He's good in the ring, you know. But that whole, I don't know, maybe it's just because me and I'm from the South and I got this thing about nooses and people hanging people over shit with nooses. But in 2016, that's just not a really good gimmick to have.
Yeah, well, I think that's one of those cultural differences, really, because in Japan, it probably doesn't evoke the same imagery that it does in the U.S.
No,
Well,
it
yeah,
probably
and,
invokes, cowboys and Stan Hansen, Blackjack Mulligan, and things like that, Terry Funk.
And, of course, it gets him great heat to, sling Yoshi Tatsu around by his broken neck in a noose.
Right, exactly. It's cheap heat.
I don't know. There's just some people that, and I'm one of the people that has just a problem with it because I don't think it's something that is needed.
Well, it definitely wouldn't fly in the U.S. I mean, hell, Bryan Danielson got fired for choking a guy with a necktie.
Yeah, but it's just, I don't know. It's just one of those things that kind of just irks me.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got one half of each of the Uncles team representing A and B blocks, and the other halves of the Uncles teams are just sitting on the sidelines.
I kind of wish Nakanishi would have been in it, but...
Yeah, I mean, I guess he's kind of, I don't know. He would have been interesting to see go against guys like Ishii and Evil and Elgin and some of the bigger guys, but...
Yeah, just car wrecks.
If you had to pick one of those two uncles, I'm glad that they picked Nagata.
Yeah, because he can still go. He's got a bigger moveset than Nakanishi, and just coming off a never title run, it makes more sense with him.
Yeah, but honestly, I'm kind of worried about that. I feel like they're going to force him to go into reset mode now, and he might get very few points out of this block.
He got very few points last year.
That's why I'm worried about it.
Well, I mean, you got to look at it this way. He's, 40? He's either 46 or 48, right?
I think when we did the review, I said 48, because I looked it up when I was watching the video package, and I was just blown away by how much better he is at 48 than he was back in the WCW run.
He's better than half the damn WWE's roster right now, more than half.
You know what? I'd even go as far as to say better than Chris Jericho based on the quality of that match. I know you have a thing.
And plus, Jericho, he wears shirts. You know, that puts him way above Jericho in my book.
Now, did you see that Jericho is launching his own podcast network?
I try to pay as little attention to Jericho as I possibly can.
Yeah, well, it made the news today, and I know you try to pay as little attention to him as you can, but apparently he's going to sign a whole bunch of different wrestlers and entertainers, and they're all going to be lumped into the Jericho Network on Podcast One. I feel like there's some sort of gimmick infringement here, because we were a network long before Jericho was.
Well, you go after him and his $750 yak hair scarf, okay?
I don't think I'd get a dime out of him, and I wouldn't even try to.
I don't know. I mean, I'll listen to Jericho's podcast if he's got somebody interesting on, but that's like maybe once every 2 months or so.
Well, it's funny you should say that, because I was going to ask you if you checked out the episode that had, it touched on a disturbing theme, is the best way I can put it.
Yes, I listened to that one.
Your thoughts?
Yeah, we are talking about the one with Nancy Benoit's sister, right?
Yes.
Yes. I don't know. I don't think we'll ever know what happened. It bothers me a little bit to hear her be so single-mindedly focused on the fact that it was drugs and nothing more. I mean, they cut the man's brain open and found he had the brain of a man with severe Alzheimer's. That had to play a role in it. It had to. Mm-hmm. And the fact that I can understand her belief that it was simply the worst roid rage he had ever been through. But I can understand her believing that, especially when, looking at the toxicology reports and things like that. But that other stuff has to be taken into account. It has to.
And I've never been able to accept the roid rage theory anyway, because roid rage is a spontaneous, white-hot burst of raw emotion that makes you act violently. It's not as calculated and meditated as what he did over the course of 3 days.
No, and her belief that he saw what he did to Nancy and then everything else was methodical. No, it goes back to the whole, his brain was Swiss cheese. I mean, and that's basically what it was. Mm-hmm. I think it was just a combination of so many other things that we'll never know. And trying to boil it down to one thing it's never going to fly.
Right. It's a little of everything. It was a volatile cocktail. It was all the headbutts he'd been doing over the years, turning his brain into Swiss cheese, all the violent wrestling that he'd done, increasing the amount of concussions that he had, the steroids, the other things,
the alcohol, the pain medication.
Yeah, that's
all of that together with a rocky marriage.
You don't buy into Bill Apter's conspiracy theory on it?
What, that Kevin Sullivan went and killed them all? I don't know. I could have sworn when I was a kid he was the actual devil incarnate, but I doubt it very seriously. No, I just think trying to boil it down to one factor like she's trying to do, I can understand the need to do that as a family member, to give yourself some
closure.
Peace or closure or whatever, thinking, how can they have cut this man's brain open and him be this physically messed up and me not know it?
Right. He basically had the brain Vern Gagne did before he died.
And a heart that was about to explode like Eddie Guerrero's did.
Right.
And I'm sure his family and her family were like, how did we miss the signs? How did we not see it? It has to be the steroids. That's all it could be.
Well, that's what's both fascinating and disturbing about it is people talk about how even though his personality was darker at the end, how he still had functional abilities that were exceeding those of the average person. Like, he could find his way to any airport in any city without directions. And this is the days before we all had map apps on our phones.
Yeah, but that was also a sign of increasing paranoia where he thought he was being followed. So he would map out routes to airports so that he couldn't be followed.
That's true. Yeah.
And I mean, if you listen and compile all of the stuff that's been written and said, it cannot just be, it was roid rage.
No. I like I said at the beginning of this conversation, I never for once ever accepted that it was steroids alone. Even before the toxicology came back, even before they did the autopsy and saw his brain was Swiss cheese, I was never ever convinced that steroids alone could explain it all.
No.
Jason, your thoughts? Oh, sorry, Abby. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I mean, I'm just saying it can't. And like I said, I listened to the podcast as a family member and as someone who's gone through tragedy and stuff. I can understand the need to try to pick out one thing to blame it on just for your own peace of mind. But this is too big and too messed up to be just one thing.
Agreed. Jason?
Yeah, it's a combination of everything, of the drugs he was taking, and the abuse he was putting his body through, the abuse he was putting his cranium and his skull and his brain through. You just can't point to one thing. And she said it was a cocktail. It was the right mixture, and that mixture exploded.
Indeed. I think if anything good has come out of this, and I wish that smaller promotions took this as seriously as the big ones do. And we do criticize WWE for a lot of things, and rightly so, when it comes to their scripting and the entertainment value they provide us. But the one thing they take seriously more than anybody else does in the pro wrestling business right now is concussions and head trauma and chair shots. They have very specifically said no thanks to any of those things, and if anybody gets a concussion, they're put on the sidelines until they're cleared. And I wish at the smaller levels other promotions could do that, or at least attempt to do that, because I see chair shots in other promotions now, and it makes me wince, because every time I see that, I think you're creating a psychopath. You don't need to do that. The more chair shots you deliver, the more you're turning that man's brain into Swiss cheese. Stop it.
Yeah, but you look back at it, and you see it all coming full circle now with the guys from the 80s and everything. Now they're going through these brain tests, and they're finding problems.
I wish I could remember the name of the specific protein that they find in people whose brains have Alzheimer's. But I'm betting if you did that same survey on those wrestlers from the 80s and 90s that are still with us today that took a lot of chair shots, you'd find they have that same protein in their brain.
Oh, yeah.
And the one thing that just really strikes me as disturbing when I think back now, and everybody that watches it has pretty much the same reaction, and I didn't even understand it at the time, that Rock McFoley match where The Rock hit him in the head about, you know the one I'm talking about. It's amazing that didn't have a bigger effect on Foley. And I know he's got some difficulty with injuries that he's pretty much self-inflicted, but at the same time, he's lucky that didn't scramble his brain.
Oh, Foley is still relatively young.
That's true. It could get worse as he gets older, but from being at his events and talking to him, he doesn't seem like he's lost any of his faculties, at least not yet.
And hopefully he never does, but you never know.
Not. Yeah, it's too hard to tell at this age, but let's hope not. Let's hope he stays healthy for the rest of his life and continues to do one-man shows and autograph sessions, because I don't want to ever see him take another bump again, quite frankly. I don't need to. I don't want to.
Yeah, and let's hope that Holy Foley only lasts one season on the network.
You're not even giving it a chance. How do you say that? Why? What are you?
Because that dumbass clown's going to be on there. I already know that dumbass clown will be on there, and I'm just not going to like it.
Oh, but Noelle Foley will make up for that in spades. She will outshine him to such a degree it'll be like he wasn't even there.
I'm not a big fan of hers either.
Really? Okay, now I'm curious. What do you have against her?
No, I'm just not a big fan of hers. I'm not a big fan of his kid. You know, the one that's writing for WWE now, because he's an obnoxious little shit that self-promotes all of his stuff on Twitter. Please watch this, because, I had something to do with it. But I'm not going to say I had anything to do with it. I'm just going to say it's great 100 times a day.
Okay, but he's young and he's enthusiastic. Can't we cut him a little slack for that?
No. He grew up in the business. He should know well enough that doing shit like that, it only makes people hate you more.
Well, then maybe that's
people
a good
have hated him since he was a kid.
Yeah, but some of that was angles just to get heat.
Well, it got heat. I don't know. I think a lot of people see the whole Foley deal as nepotism, and I think it irks some people. I think especially with Dewey, it irks some people. Noelle, to me, I mean, she's pretty and she seems smart, but she just seems a little bit obnoxious at the same time. Like, she knows she's pretty and she knows she's smart, and that to me is obnoxious. Confidence is fine. I do not like ego.
I can't throw the show under a bus until I've actually seen a couple of episodes, because honestly, Mick Foley could make up for 80% of the other problems I would have with anybody else on the show, just because I love Foley that much.
We'll see. I'll give it a chance. I'll give it a shot. And if I don't like it, I will say I don't like it. I won't trash Mick Foley, you know. I won't trash Dewey more than I just trashed him, because that's saying nothing that I wouldn't, you know, and probably have already not tweeted to him.
Right. Now, are you referencing his comment, whether it was on Twitter or Facebook, I don't remember which, where Foley said people will voice their opinions and some will trash it in a very rude and disrespectful way?
Yes, and I was talking to somebody on Twitter about that today. You know, that the people that respectfully critique it will be the minority who are drowned out by the idiots that have to, you know, get rude and nasty about it.
Is that an indictment of wrestling fans in general, that the voices of the ignorant drown out the people who will critique it with respect?
If you listen to Batista this week, of course it is.
Well, Batista's always had a very acrimonious relationship with wrestling fans in general. I think he doesn't take any criticism well.
I don't know. I mean, I think a lot of us, or at least the people that write about it, will write in a way that's entertaining. We won't necessarily be meaning to throw Foley under the bus. I won't write about it because I don't review network shows. But, you know.
Doesn't seem like anybody does, really.
Top Rope Press, we do some. Not a lot, but some. We do like Table for Three and things like that.
I've tried a few times. Like, I did it with Legends House, and I didn't notice any particular uptick in site traffic or anything from doing that. So I thought, man, people just don't care about shows on the network.
If news comes out of it or something interesting, then that's one thing. But if it's just something like Total Bellas or Total Divas or Holy Foley or, you know, it's like, really, it's a scripted reality show. What's the point?
Yeah, and I should differentiate when I talk about network programming that I'm not lumping WWE NXT into that. I consider that a professional wrestling product that's better than Raw or SmackDown. I'm not talking about, you know, I'm talking about stuff like Countdown and Swerved and Total Divas like you are.
Yeah, they're scripted reality bullshit that they do.
Mm-hmm.
But things like Table for Three, that I enjoy. You know, I enjoy that. Because
that's just people that we like in the business sitting around a table telling stories, which is always fun to, like, be a fly on the wall and hear those conversations.
And I would love it if they would bring back, remember when they had the Legends Roundtable?
Oh, yeah. I've got a whole bunch of DVDs.
Loved that. I loved it.
They released, like, 12 of those episodes on 6 DVDs, and I bought the whole set because I could watch those over and over again.
I know, and they're on the network, and they're so good. I don't understand why they don't do something like that again.
You know what? Speaking of things that we're going to get into that we do again, it's time for Jordan's Corner.
Okay.
Wow.
I'm just waiting for Kevin to take that cue and dial him in.
Speaking of conversation killers.
Well, I got a message that Jordan had been waiting, so... Jordan, are you there?
Hello.
Good evening. Jordan J. Garber returns for Jordan's Corner on Thursday night AMP. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing great. Jordan's Corner. So you guys obviously know what's up. It's my corner. It's my world. And I say what I want to say. And I'll let you guys ask the questions, and I'll give you guys the golden and the tasty answers.
Well, let's get the first question out of the way then. How is the Jordan World Tour going?
The Jordan World Tour, it's not really a Jordan World Tour. You honestly got to thank Hotshot Danny Duggan and Travis Cole, as weird as he is, for bringing me alongside with them to be involved with these shows and be on the road with them and learn about the business and go on the road. And while doing that, Jordan Garber made some headlines recently. I'm not trying to spout out of my own horn here or be a little bit of an egomaniac, because I'm not. Some people may say I am, but I'm not. Jordan Garber can now call himself Mr. Garber after quite the great interview he did with Mr. Kennedy, which reached none other than wrestling news headlines around the world. So definitely that's another great thing. And I believe you reported on that story as well. So thank you very much, Stevie J, for doing that as well. So quite the success. Wisconsin is literally it's been the most successful place with pro wrestling. Like, it's probably up there in the top 3 for Jordan Garber, because DJZ's reached news headlines and Mr. Kennedy's done headlines, and Jordan Garber's name is getting all over the internet and all over the world, and it's a great feeling. Anyways, enough about me. I talk about myself a bit, and some people are getting tired of it. So I want to see how you guys are doing. How are you guys doing on AngryMarks.com today?
Well, we're having a pretty darn good evening. I'd say we had a fun time with Veda Scott on the show earlier this evening. She had a lot to say about the subject of women's wrestling and Ring of Honor. And since she and I got into, I wouldn't say a contentious debate, but we had differing opinions, and she showed me that maybe I need to be a little more open to the idea. What do you think of intergender matches, Jordan?
Well, you know what? Wrestling is, obviously we all know that wrestling isn't real UFC. It isn't real fighting. It is, you guys know what I mean. You guys get the gist of it. We're all not stupid, unless you're some people in Winnipeg, all due respect. But literally, intergender wrestling, you have to understand, can the woman work? Can the guy work? Can they work well? And can they put something together well without getting hurt? If they can do that, then why not? The problem is that people are saying, oh, a man can't fight a woman? That's bad to watch on TV. Now, there's these type of wrestling fans that there's those kids that watch WWE every week on TV when their mothers strongly moderate it. That's how I started watching wrestling. And there's those wrestling fans that just want to watch wrestling and watch what's best for the product. So what I say is if you're watching wrestling and you see an intergender match and it turns out to be amazing, then definitely, whatever makes the product look good, man. Like, honestly, men fighting women in UFC would be awful. That's a terrible idea. But we're looking at pro wrestling. We're looking at an art, and we're looking at a craft that I'm proud to have made a name of myself in, as well as you guys, and it's something I'm very passionate about. So I do agree with having intergender matches, because it definitely gives you more variety for the occasional wrestling fan, which is terrific. I think it's something that needs to happen more often.
Yeah, and Veda made a very compelling argument that if it wasn't for intergender wrestling, she wouldn't have had the opportunities open up to her that she's received, and that she wouldn't be where she is in her career now without that. And I tried to counter that I do generally like it when they're the same size and I feel like it's a fair fight, but that I sometimes get a little concerned when I see a very large man going against a very small woman. And she shot right back and said, but can they work? You basically making the same argument that you just made. Like, if they both know how to work, then the size disparity doesn't matter.
Exactly. You know what, people, the problem about today's society, and here's something, this is what frustrates me. I'm very outspoken. I'm very controversial. I know that, but that's how Jordan Garber got his name out there. In today's society, now, Stevie J, for example, or Jason, or Killer Kev, look back in your times when you guys were my age, 20 years old. You guys could get away with a lot more stuff. You guys could say more things, and people wouldn't be such little so pissy about it. Nowadays, if you say one little joke, it's like, oh my god, how dare you? It's like, people are so sensitive nowadays, and it pisses me off. I prefer to be unfiltered and say what I want to say, because I have confidence in myself to say whatever I want to say, and that's pretty much my point. Like I said, have intergender matches. I'm tired of people being, oh, this isn't good. I remember, I think this was 4 years ago in the Winnipeg Free Press, in which was not a great newspaper, but it's Winnipeg. You're not going to see a lot of good media in the city unless it's the media with the wrestling business. But the point being, so, is that there is this article in the Winnipeg Sun, or I think it was actually a community school magazine for a school I used to go to called Techbach High School, where I took broadcasting course, and there's this article where, you guys remember Jillian Hall, right?
Yes. Yeah, she had the big mole on her
there's
face.
A kid.
WWE.
There was a kid that got a Jillian Hall action figure for Christmas. He had smiles all over his face. He appreciated it. He added it to his collection. But the mom, there was some other parent who's not even involved with this whole that wasn't even involved in this whole scenario, complains on the internet how this is, like, is it literally, how do I portray this? How do I say this? It's sexual infringement against women. You're an idiot. No, it's not. People are too sensitive nowadays. Is her bra off and are her breasts waving all over the place? No. People need to be more sensitive. People need to listen to more Angry Marks programming, and people just need to fucking lighten up. Like, to be quite honest with you. And that's the problem with wrestling nowadays, is that too many people are sensitive and too many people are babies. Sometimes it gets annoying.
Well, we get to thank, y'all's generation for that. Not you necessarily,
yeah, you know
but
what?
your generation.
And our generation doesn't help. Our generation doesn't help. And I know this is a wrestling podcast, but I've been in the mood to rant for quite a while, and I've done it on Snapchat. You bring up our generation, Abby, and you know what? Our generation, especially here in Winnipeg, our generation is filled with people who think that they're all that. They can say whatever they want to say, do whatever they want to do, and get away with whatever they want to get away with. They'll wear their little thug gangster clothes and they'll walk down the street thinking they're top shit. But in reality, in today's generation, if you walked up to probably one person from your guys' generation, they'd get destroyed. People in today's generation are uneducated, need to get more discipline, and need to get more respect. Pretty much what I'm saying is this generation is filled of punk-ass kids who think they know everything, but in reality they don't know a dime of shit. And you know what? That needs to change. And I'm not one of those people. I've had experiences before. I've hung out with some pretty mean I'm sorry, I'm not going to swear. I've hung out with some pretty mean people. I've seen a lot of crazy things, but you don't see me dressing up or looking at this generation all cocky and thinking I'm all that. The generation is full of too many punk-ass kids, and you know what? It was like that before. I wasn't around before. The problem is, though, it's just this generation sucks. So I just prefer to do me, watch professional wrestling, and do my own thing. Because you know what? This generation is honestly sickening nowadays.
All right. Well, I think that is the perfect note to end a rant from Jordan J. Garber on Jordan's Corner. So let's get some cheap plugs before you get out of here for the evening.
Well, first off, I'm here on a wrestling podcast. I consider this a wrestling booking, so obviously I didn't mean to rant about today's generation and today's society.
It's Jordan's Corner. You can say what you want during your time.
It's Jordan's Corner, but there's one thing we didn't discuss. We heard rumors of Nancy Grace retiring. Did you guys hear those rumors?
No, it's not a rumor. She is stepping away. It's the date has been set.
She actually.
Yeah.
I saw it on Facebook before you guys said that, and all I can say is thank God, because by far she's done on purposely tried to make pro wrestling look bad, which gives me the right to say to her a big fuck you. She's definitely had a bunch of pot arguments, so now she's against two of my favorite, two topics that I'm very passionate about, and I'm glad she's retiring. Honestly, I hope she doesn't even get her pension. I hope she just sleeps in a bus shack. Good for you, Nancy Grace. You've made a career. You've made a career of being a backstabber and being a reporter. That's always been just about you. You've never cared about anyone else but yourself. So, congratulations on your retirement, bitch.
Oh, man. Okay. Well, on that note, like I said, it's your corner. You can say what you want. But cheap plugs, let's get those before you get out of here.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, first off, guys, I want to honestly thank you for getting me on again on AngryMarks.com. AngryMarks is it's definitely a great wrestling podcast, up there in the rankings, and I'm so honored to be on it each and every week, CVJ, and I thank you for that every time. And as for cheap plugs, check out the interview I did with former WWE star Mr. Kennedy. I did that in Oconto, Wisconsin at Copperfest for Under the Lights Entertainment. And definitely an interview where he talks about getting into WWE, how he got called up to WWE, and a little bit of his story after wrestling and what he's up to nowadays. So check out that interview that has reached headlines and probably is reaching around over 300,000 views and or listens already. So be one of those people to check out the Mr. Kennedy interview. And there's actually a new project I have as well. Do you guys remember CM Punk? You all know who CM Punk is. We all know who Colt Cabana is. And we all know who Ace Steel is. They started out in Steel Domain Wrestling. Guess who's on Steel Domain Wrestling? None other than Jordan J. Garber. Pretty soon you guys can check out the Steel Domain Wrestling Alternative. And our first guest is none other than Winnipeg Wrestling veteran and former Steel Domain wrestler AJ LaRock. So definitely a lot of good stuff coming up here for Jordan Garber. I do apologize if I offended anyone with my comments. No means to do so. That's just my character, and I prefer to be unfiltered because that's what people want to listen to. I want to be different than everyone else, and I know for a fact that I am. And, of course, follow me on Twitter. And once again, guys, thank you so much. I've been on way too long, but thanks for giving me the chance to be on and let me rant, say what I wanted to say, and give my plugs. I really appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
No problem. At Jordan J. Garber, everybody. Follow the controversial and unfiltered Jordan. Thank you so much.
No problem, guys. Take care.
Yep. All right, Jordan J. Garber's Corner right here on Thursday Night AMP. And I'm put in an awkward position here because I don't really want to defend Nancy Grace. I kind of feel similar to him in a lot of things that he said, that she had it out for pro wrestling, and she would always have on the wrestlers who touted the list of wrestling deaths. And whenever she would do that, I would cringe because the list would include people who died from cancer, who died from various ailments that had nothing to do with the wrestling business whatsoever, and would be attributed falsely to the tremendous physical blows of wrestling when they didn't even belong on that list. Like Earthquake. He did not belong on that list, but people would go on to her show and spout that list, and nobody would dispute it or fact check it. But at the same time, even though I didn't like her doing that, I feel just in general calling her a bitch doesn't serve any real purpose. I'm sorry, Jordan, but I just feel like that part of the conversation doesn't. Abby, can you jump in here?
That's one man's opinion.
I mean, do you feel that he stepped over the line, or do you agree, or what?
Let me see if I can filter my opinion of Jordan J. Garber. I'm not one of those women that gets upset when a man calls a woman a bitch. Did she have her bitchy moments? Hell yes, she had her bitchy moments. We all do. It's just one of those things. She had it out for professional wrestling, but she was paid to do a job, and she did her job very well. And if that makes her a bitch, then she was one of the better paid bitches in the media.
You know, I think that kind of sums up what I'm trying to say very neatly and eloquently, so thank you.
You know, I'm just going to jump in here because I have been very bitter against Nancy Grace for years, but my opinion on it is kind of split. If you take the view that she's an entertainer and her whole purpose was to get out there and to be outlandish and to draw criticism and try to draw ratings through her antics like that, yeah, she did her job. But at the same time, that's a pretty fucking shitty job, especially when you throw other people under the bus like Nancy Grace did. And if this wasn't just entertaining, if this is actually who she is, fuck her.
That is kind of actually who she is. That's kind of her personality.
Either way, I don't have any respect for Nancy Grace as a television character. And if that's really her personality, I don't have any respect for her as an individual. I've always found her actions absolutely despicable. I believe that she is nothing short of a horrible stain on journalism. And, it just sickens me that this woman was even a prosecutor. Based on her horrible lack of judgment in the entertainment arena, I would hate to try to go back over through any of the cases that she's ever prosecuted and see if she did just as much a horrible job there as she did on TV. I mean, it would just absolutely sicken me if we were to find out that she was as sloppy and callous and just absolutely unrepentant for the mistakes that she's made over the years in the courtroom, if that was anywhere near the same level of egregiousness that she's committed on television. She can't get off of TV fast enough for me. And honestly, I have no sympathy for her. I have no sorry for her, for anybody that wants to take their wrath out on her like Jordan did, because she's earned it. She deserved it. She drew it. If she didn't like it, she always had a choice not to do it. And there's plenty of people in both entertainment and journalism who have drawn a line when they were asked to do something that was just, a step too far. There's plenty of people who, even if they did despicable things in the past, when they reached their epiphany and realized, I can't keep doing this, at least put a foot down, drew a line in the sand, and said, that's it, I can't go any further. But I've never seen that out of Nancy Grace at all, and, it is what it is. I guess tonight's a good night for ranting, I guess.
Well, the thing with her, I've got to give as much blame to the wrestlers that went on her show and did what they did as I give to her.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
Because they threw people under the bus, and this is supposedly, these are guys that basically just wanted to keep their name in the news.
Yeah.
I know the Undisputed Wrestling Show had a very good interview with Mark Miro, and I will not taint that or dispute that in any way, but he was one of those people that when he would show up on Nancy Grace, my immediate reaction would be to roll my eyes and go, oh, for fuck's sake, this guy again?
Yeah. Exactly.
And that just jumped to my mind a minute ago as well. I'm glad he's doing something different now.
Yes.
than doing that. Because Mero did not help things. Let's just put it that way.
No. And I would have thought he would have loved the business he was part of more than that to, like you said, throw it under the bus every time he was there.
I mean, I understand.
Well, his biggest claim to fame was being Sable's ex-husband. So I don't know if he was trying to redeem himself or become famous for something different in the business, or if he, honest to God, thought that he was standing up for his, brothers in the ring or whatever. But he did more harm than good.
I agree. And like I said at the beginning, I didn't want to be in the position of defending Nancy Grace because I don't think I ever agreed with a single thing that ever got said on any of her wrestling shows except when people tried to argue with her, but unfortunately she would cut them off before they could make intelligent points. She was her producers were very good at that. When anybody would try to rebut her, they would get cut off quicker than a hiccup. They would just be gone.
Well, she's extremely shrill.
Well, that and whenever she would do the pro wrestling show, she would always talk to her friend Susan, who, thanks to the Figure 4 Wrestling Observer, became known as the woman with the mouth. And that, to me, was probably the sole entertaining factor of otherwise hideous shows, because she would say these things and have on these guests, and I would get tired of wrestling being railroaded. But then the woman with the mouth would come on, and she'd start rhyming, like, this dock needs to be put under lock. And it's like, oh my God, this woman is terrible, but she's funny terrible. She's entertaining terrible. And that's why I think of Nancy Grace as an entertainer and not a journalist.
Well, like I said, she was paid to do a job. And so if that's what she was doing, she was, she did her job very well.
Yes, we do definitely agree on that. She was very well compensated to do what she did very well. Jason, you've been suspiciously quiet during this whole thing.
I have no idea who Nancy Grace is.
Wow. Wow.
Now Nancy Grace has been thrown under the bus. It's all come full circle.
You know what? Let me just say that.
Under a rock, I guess.
Yeah.
let me just jump in here real quick and add. You know what? I think I'm going to be more pissed off if we eventually find out one day that Nancy Grace is like one of the biggest contributors to the Make-A-Wish Foundation that gets all these wrestlers out there, and was also one of the major financial backers of TNA Wrestling. Could you? I mean, that would just be like the ultimate insider screw job ever.
Oh, okay,
Wouldn't
speaking of ultimate insider screw job, you just gave me the perfect segue, Kevin, because Jim Cornette had another one of his classic rants. And if this is the rant show, let's talk about that rant, because he went on a tirade about Vince Russo stabbing TNA in the back.
What was it about? I'd never read actually what was said. I've blocked Cornette. Russo's blocked me on Twitter, so I can't see what either one of them has to say.
Well, I'm probably going to do a piss-poor job of summarizing it, but here's my best attempt at explaining it. Apparently, Vince Russo used some machinations of his own even after he was disassociated from Impact Wrestling publicly and professionally to go to the network they were on and say to them, "This product stinks, bro. I can make it better, bro." He tried to reinsert himself into the picture even after he was dismissed.
And after he basically cost them their television deal.
Right, which is why Cornette more or less called him a backstabbing, sniveling little weasel.
Okay.
Which, honestly, I don't think I disagree with that.
That's a pretty apt description.
An accurate description, yeah.
I had to explain this to a friend of mine the other day when it comes to seeing Vince Russo's name pop up in wrestling headlines every now and then, that I purposefully choose not to report that news on AngryMarks.com because I've reached the point of bullshit where it exceeds my tolerance with him. Like, I know we're all just having opinions on wrestling to some degree, but my thing is, in 2016, with as many times and as many promotions as he's failed in, why does he still have an opinion, and why do we even have to listen to it, and why should we care?
Yeah, why is he relevant in this day and age where he hasn't... What's the last major wrestling job that he's held?
Well, that would be TNA.
Yeah.
What year was that?
Like 2 years ago?
Yeah, when they lost their deal with Destination America, basically. That was like right around the time he stopped being relevant to them.
Well,
I thought it was when they lost their deal with Spike.
Well, they lost their deal with Spike because he was secretly on the payroll.
And then he got fired.
Well,
so he went to Destination X and said that it sucked?
Destination America, yes.
Yeah, Destination X.
We're talking match.
Oh, okay. See, that ice cream sandwich I had before the show tonight is kind of wearing off now.
You're supposed to eat this during intermission.
So he went to Destination America and said, I can help fix the show after I cost him their last television deal.
Exactly.
And then the headline today was that the dirt sheets cost him his job because they reported that he was still on the payroll, which is how it got back to Spike.
Well, that was his own fault, really, because he carbon copied an email that was supposed to go to some production executive, and instead of Dave Lagana or whoever he was sending it to, he sent it to Dave Scherer instead. So he did that to himself. He can't blame the dirt sheets for that.
He and Dixie deserve each other. Neither one of them know how to use email.
Yeah, I get that impression at times.
Lord.
Neither one of them know how to run a wrestling company either.
Ooh, yeah.
Russo is one of those guys that needs somebody to put a leash and a muzzle on him and jerk him back.
And that was the other thing that I explained to this same wrestling fan that I was talking to. I said, it's not that Vince Russo never had a good idea. He'd have 1 out of 100. And as long as somebody was there to delete the other 99, the 1 might be okay. The problem was when somebody took the leash off him and didn't edit him, then all 100 of those things made TV and 99 of them were bad.
And hence you had companies dying left, right, and center. You know, I mean, why Russo is still relevant, it's kind of like Mark Merrow, and it's kind of like Jim Cornette, and it's kind of like Vader. You know, they latch on to shit that's going on now, and they insert themselves into it to keep themselves in the limelight of the business that has passed them by.
Well, I have to say that probably because I am a Jim Cornette mark to some degree that...
Well, I am too. I grew up on him. And a lot of his stuff I still agree with in a way.
As long as he sticks to the subject of what works in wrestling. When he gets into politics or religion, I start to question why I'm listening to what he has to say. But
culture, society, anything other than wrestling.
Right, but when he's on a rant about something in wrestling that's not being done right, 99 times out of 100, I tend to agree with him.
Mm-hmm.
But that's,
the business doesn't agree with him anymore.
No, that the business is passed him by, which I think is kind of what you were saying. But
yeah, but they latch onto these things that happen, and they're so desperate to stay in it because it's all they know. What else is Cornette going to do? Give tennis lessons?
Yeah, only if they're beating
Seriously.
over the head with a tennis racket lessons. He can teach
what the hell is Russo going to do? It's all they know, and they've been blackballed. So they've got to do something to kind of keep their names at least on the fringes of it.
Well,
it's like Vader with this whole Osprey deal.
Yeah.
It's like, let's just keep our names in it as much as we can in 2016 when we should have been out of it 20 years ago. Because that's the last time we did anything successful.
Do you think, honestly, that was Vader's goal all along, or was he just drunk and pissed off and decided to shit on a match?
I think that was Vader being Leon. I think that was Vader channeling Leon White. I think that was him being him. I don't think he had at the time I don't think he was trying to work himself into a match with Osprey. I don't think he was trying to do anything like that. I think that was his honest opinion, was that was a bunch of flippy-dippy bullshit that was choreographed, that looked like, synchronized swimming and gymnastics or whatever the hell else he called it. But I think as soon as he realized that, oh, God, everybody has jumped on this, man, what can I do now?
Well, if he worked himself into a shoot, like I said when Veda Scott was on, then at least he got a payday out of it. He's getting that match now, so.
And the thing is, it wouldn't have happened if Will Ospreay hadn't have played right into his damn hands.
Yeah.
But Willie just had to rub it in, and keep twisting the knife. And Rev Pro is probably paying Vader more than they'll make off the damn gate for the show.
Oh, DVD sales might be good, though. There might be the curiosity factor.
As long as Willie didn't end up getting snapped like a twig.
Well, the one thing I wouldn't care to see is for him to Vader bomb him and pin him. As long as Ospreay wins, I don't care how bad it is. But if Vader wins, no bueno.
I don't know. You hear conflicting stories about Vader. A lot of people say he's a great guy, nice guy, big old teddy bear. Other people say he's a jackass in the ring who, hits like a jackhammer and will rip off your ear. Yeah, I don't know what he'll do.
Yeah, I've heard both of those stories too. I've never quite had a read on Vader as a result, because I've heard the teddy bear thing and I've heard the potato you every time he touches you. So all I know is at one point in time in the 90s, I thought he was a pretty entertaining big guy. I thought he could do some stuff that most big guys couldn't do.
I did too. I met him at several shows and he was really nice to the fans, or at least the times I met him. But these days, I don't know. He might go in there and just waffle Will because of the disrespect Will showed him. Or it could be, okay, kid, let's go in here and do what's best for business, make some money, and be done with it.
Hopefully,
or
especially with Osprey's injury.
The third possibility is just he might not be able to work anymore, and he might waffle him just because that's all he can do.
Ugh.
Will is hurt enough. Let's just hope he doesn't get hurt worse in a couple weeks.
Yes. All right. So, as far as I can tell, I've hit all the major topics for this week. So if I've left anything out, Abby, let me know.
I can't think of anything. I'm thinking about the stuff I wrote about today, other than the crap that came out about Reigns again, which I don't know why he's still in the damn news.
All right. Well, yeah, we will discuss that briefly then before we wrap it up. And I'll start with Jason's opinion on this, because I think I know yours, and I already heard Kevin's before we went on the air. But, Jason, what did you think of the fact that Reigns had to apologize to the locker room before he started his suspension?
Yeah, whatever. They should be making the writers who are making him a face apologize to the locker room, to the fans, to everybody. He's serving a suspension. Is that not punishment enough? He's got to go and apologize to the locker room, too?
I think he should have.
I'm kind of in Abby's boat on that one, because I feel like because whether people like him or hate him, whatever the case may be, he has proven to be one of their top draws. Maybe just because he's such a heat magnet that people will actually pay to boo him at this point. He is costing other wrestlers money by being sidelined for 30 days.
I say go in there and apologize. I mean, if he did something wrong, and the online rumor now is, depending on who you listen to, it's amphetamines from fat burners. That's just stupid. Number one, that he would get suspended for taking fat burners. If it was something like that, then no, don't go apologize, because that's just a stupid reason to get suspended. But if he did something illegal and got popped for that, then yeah, take your ass in there and apologize, since you were the heir apparent to being the face of the company. Yeah, apologize for being a dumbass. You owe everybody a damn apology.
Yeah.
Everybody in that locker room apparently reportedly stood behind him and was okay with the push and all that. Hell yeah, go in there and grovel and apologize and look like the fucking fool you are for doing something stupid to begin with. But if it was for something like fat burners, then no, that's just ridiculous.
And the one other thing that I saw about it that I found noteworthy was that nobody seemed to have a problem with him apologizing. Nobody said, fuck this kid, or I don't believe him, or that's insincere. It seemed like some people thought he didn't need to do it, and the others who didn't think that he needed to do it were okay with him doing it. Nobody was upset that he apologized, so I don't see how it could really be a bad thing.
I'm all for it. I say the more humiliation he gets, the better, because he needs to be humbled.
Well,
no, I mean, I'm being serious.
In the Iron Sheik way, or?
No, he needs to be humbled.
In the Iron Sheik way.
Well, I'm not saying go and, break his back, but, he needs to be humbled.
Break his back.
I don't, the old country way. No, I'm not saying that. But, he needs to be humbled. He needs to realize that he can't do whatever he wants to do.
I never respect the Roman. I never respect
Yeah, break his back and make him humble.
Old country way. You jabroni. You punk. You're worse than Hulk Hogan.
And there is one more thing I wanted to touch on that I did write about today that I find just, it pisses me off and makes me shake my head at the same time.
Go ahead, Ed.
And that is WrestleCon scheduling Jimmy Snuka to be a featured speaker in Orlando WrestleMania week.
Now, I heard some quibbling on the details of that it was a vendor who booked him and not WrestleCon itself.
WrestleCon has them listed on their website as a featured guest speaker. So they can say whatever the hell they want to say. They're advertising him.
And the other quibble I heard about that, and I'm basically siding with you on this one, Abby, that I think it's vulgar, but the other quibble that I've heard about this is, well, he's already living in Florida, so it's not like he's traveling to be there.
He lives in New Jersey. He doesn't live in Florida. He lives in New Jersey.
I guess he's staying with relatives in Florida, from what I understand, because they think it's good for his mental health or whatever.
The man is on trial for murdering his girlfriend in 1983. He was deemed mentally incompetent to stand trial 3 weeks ago. They are revisiting the topic in December for a 6-month review.
Right, and the prosecutor has even tried to get him to seek outpatient treatment so he can be competent. Yeah.
Force him into treatment. Now, if he is literally suffering from Alzheimer's or dementia, I don't see how forcing him into any kind of mental health treatment will do anything.
Right.
Either he's mentally incompetent or he's not.
Right.
But the
if
man
he's well enough to do a convention, then he's probably well enough to stand trial.
Exactly. I don't know who I'm more pissed off at. WrestleCon for booking him, or the judge who apparently allowed it, and now but the prosecutor's office is looking into it.
It does, like I said a minute ago, it just seems vulgar. That's the only word I can use for it.
It's in bad taste.
Which,
and I tweeted that story out this morning. I'm like, is common decency just dead? And then somebody retweeted my tweet and said, no, that's his ex-girlfriend. And this was a podcast that did this. And I said, talk about bad taste. Yeah. And they were doing it as a joke. And it's like, oh, no.
Even 30 years after the fact, it's too soon.
Yeah, especially in the midst of a damn murder trial. It's not like he got picked up for jaywalking. He got picked up for beating a woman to death.
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't know if decency is dead. I don't know if good taste is dead, but if I was WrestleCon, go ahead.
The desire for a buck sure as hell ain't dead.
That's pretty much what my closing statement on it was, is that the desire to make a buck isn't dead.
Mm.
So, on that sordid note, I guess we will wrap up the show. But it was a fabulous show, and we did have a fabulous guest to open it. So even though we've talked about some pretty heavy topics, I'm still satisfied with, I wouldn't say I'm not satisfied when we do talk about heavy topics. I think it's good.
Those are the fun things to talk about. Not fun, but they're interesting.
Exactly.
It's better than bitching about WWE booking week in and week out.
Yeah.
Oh, amen to that. So, cheap plugs time. Jason, we've already heard VeggieVendingWordPress.com has Veda burgers, but what else do you have to sell?
Oh, of course, you can find me on Twitter at Great Sudoku. The New Japan events I choose to get up for and watch, I live tweet those. I completely kayfabe the G1 announce ceremony because the card just looked. But yeah, New Japan World, while we're on that, check them out, njpwworld.com. It's the best 999 yen you can spend in a month.
Yes, and let's do the yen to dollar conversion right now on the air. 999 yen will cost you $9.71. So cheaper than WWE Network for the price.
And
God,
much
God
better
damn
value.
it! I'm pissed because I just got billed for New Japan World this morning and it was $9.83.
Well,
that's the bank conversion fee we got to pay.
Well, there is that too, but it does fluctuate on a daily basis. I've seen it go from, close to 1,000 to down to 910. So it depends on what time of day you get it.
God damn it, Japan, stabilize your economy already.
Oh, don't even start with that, because ever since the Brexit, all of the major Western economies have all plummeted.
Great. Thanks, UK. I appreciate that.
Thank Boris Johnson and Nigel Farage. Those are the people you should really thank.
And you know what? The stupidest thing of all... Oh, man. Speaking of pro wrestling, speaking of which, Boris Johnson just got Marty Jannetti'd.
Oh, did he now?
Yes. I'm a political junkie. Boris Johnson was one of the leading candidates to take the lead of the Conservative Party and be the Prime Minister.
And so they basically super kicked him through the glass window of the barbershop and said, no thanks.
His partner in crime, Michael Grove, who, by the way, Michael Grove is a former journalist who worked for Rupert Murdoch, and then got involved in politics. He's the Justice Minister for the UK. He got together with Johnson, and they're the ones that kind of helped to engineer the Leave campaign on behalf of the Conservatives. So everybody just assumed that it was going to be Johnson that would go for the lead of the party and Grove would organize his campaign. No, Grove today completely stabbed him in the back, announced he was not going to support Boris Johnson, the former mayor of London, and instead was going to run for prime minister himself. After a month ago saying, if asked if he was going to run for prime minister, said, count me out.
So yeah, he pretty much pulled a Marty Jannetty and Shawn Michaels there. He super kicked him right on out and said, I'm taking your spot and I don't need you.
Exactly. So UK politics can sometimes be pretty surprising, and Nigel Farage of UKIP pretty much said that this is just a clown show over there.
Well, that's the lead clown of the clown show talking, so that's
I know.
something.
So it is really interesting the fallout from the Brexit. So there you go.
All right. Well, sorry, Abby. I said I would try to avoid politics, but I guess we did get into it at the end here. So what are your
British
plugs?
politics is fine. Just don't get into American politics. I have a feeling we would rant. We would do rants that would, put Parrot Boy to shame.
Maybe we would. But speaking of those rants, Top Rope Press, where you can read some of Abby's.
Yes, I've been lax in my writing lately. I don't know what's going on. I've had some crap going on in my personal life, but I've got to get back into it. I'm going to do a piece on the Cruiserweight Classic and kind of introduce everyone to the competitors and do the same thing for the G1 like I did last year. So yeah, Top Rope Press and Angry Marks, and let's see, who else do I have to plug? Me on Twitter at Abby A. I'm kind of easy to find. And I don't know, maybe I'll plug Kevin's shop this week since I do it every week. I'm kind of like a walking billboard for him. Masked little demon that he is. PuroCentralShop.com. I just got a lovely autographed Shinsuke Nakamura Kimpuro card in the mail today from him that I got from the shop. So he's always got some really good stuff for all of your Puro needs.
Indeed. And if I may make a request, and you don't have to honor it, but I'll make it anyway, when you do your preview of the Cruiserweight Classic, please say some glowing things about Akira Tozawa.
Say some what stuff about him?
Glowing, rave.
Glowing?
rant.
Oh, yes,
It's
definitely.
Shout him out to the praises and sing the accord of Akira Tozawa, the greatest wrestler that nobody outside of Puro fans knows about. But the man is fucking bananas awesome to me.
He is great.
I think one of my proudest moments ever going to an indie show was taking a picture with him, and that was before you even knew me.
He's great. I still have a feeling it's going to end up being Zach and Coda in the finals.
Oh, yeah. And I don't mind that, if that's what it turns out
I don't
to
either.
Be. But damn, if Akira Tozawa doesn't at least get to, like, the semifinals, I'll be disappointed.
Yeah, I heard one of the big names that, I'm not going to do spoilers or anything, but one of the big names that got in is already out.
Yeah, we won't do spoilers on the air. I think I know who you're referring to, and
Yeah.
we'll leave it at that for now. But it's something to look forward to. Hopefully we'll have some recaps of that, because like I said, we don't do a lot of network shows, but that might be the one that, just like NXT, we have to devote a little extra attention to.
Speaking of New Japan World, there is a show on Sunday morning at 3 a.m. if anybody is going to watch. Live on New Japan World, it's Kazuna Road. I think the main event is Shibata versus Hanma for the Never title.
Oh, yeah, you might just get me to... I don't know if I'll watch it live, but I'll definitely watch it.
Oh, come on, watch it live. Say it with the rest of it. It's on a Sunday. What else do you have to do on a Sunday?
This weekend more than usual, since it's a holiday weekend.
Oh.
In fact, I have an event that I'm supposed to be at that evening where I'm supposed to film some videos, so we'll just see.
Bunch of wimps. I'm surrounded by a bunch of wimps.
All right, well, that's the rants to end all rants right there. That's the final one for Thursday Night AMP with our special guest, Veda Scott, myself, Stevie J, the great Sudoku, Jason Harlan, Abby, always wonderful to have you on the show, and Kevin producing behind the scenes. But most of all, thank you to Veda for being our special guest tonight. We'll see you all next week.
You took it to the limit. Now you're falling off the edge. Too late to be forgotten.